City of Apache Junction Council meeting of March 5th, 2024 to order, and ask everyone to put their phones on silence. The invocation will be led by Councilman Darrell Cross and the pledge by Councilman Peter Heck.
Heavenly Creator, thank you for this day of life and all of your wonderful blessings. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of this great city. Please help us to conduct the business of the city with good character and conviction. Help us to hear with understanding and compassion. Help us to serve the community and see the humanity and dignity of those that disagree with us. Help us to treat everyone with great respect. Please bestow your blessings on our military and first responders. Please help them to stay safe and return to their families. Please bless those that are struggling with our everyday life. Give them strength and comfort so that one day they may once again persevere. We ask for your best blessings upon this meeting as your sons and daughters with great appreciation of your love and greatness. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's on. Oh, okay.
My short legs.
Okay. Roll call.
Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Present.
Councilmember Cross,
Here.
Councilmember Heck,
Here.
Councilmember Nesser,
Present.
Councilmember Soller.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. As a reminder, all under the consent agenda will be approved with one motion. If a council member wishes to remove an item for further discussion, the request must be made prior to approving the consent agenda and will be moved to new business. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So move, Your Honor.
Okay, moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Soller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Cross,
Yes.
Councilmember Heck,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Regional intergovernment meeting dates from, updates from the council. Darrell.
Well, as a lot of people probably saw, or hopefully saw, this last Saturday we conducted our third annual Pony Express, and just letting everyone know that it was a great success. We had 0 incidences. None of our riders had any penalties for lost equipment, and none of the horses had any issues as well. We were able to place or make a donation to the charity called Cowboys for Kids in the amount of $1,000. And so we hope to keep on expanding upon this each and every year and look forward to doing it again next year.
Peter.
Thank you. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everyone who participated and or attended the Lost Dutchman Days. It's a premier event, obviously, and it involves a lot of people, volunteers, from the parade and all the way through the 4 days of the event. It was a great year, a great season, and I'm grateful that it was as successful as it was. Obviously, we look forward to better things every year, and obviously with the city now having control of the rodeo grounds, I think that will open up will afford us some opportunities. But I'm thrilled that we had a great event, and I think it really reflected well on the city. And so, again, thank you for all those who were part of it or attended.
Yes, sir.
Nope. Okay, I've got a couple things. As Darrell mentioned, this past weekend I had the honor of starting the Pony Express and riding down to, or delivering the mail package down to the Marquee area downtown. and stopped off at one of our RV parks and picked up several, I'll say mail, a great big huge bundle. And so it was something that was very well received. And I also want to say thank you to our police and their escorts and what they did to make sure we're safe, to including stopping traffic so we can get across the intersection in a timely manner. Sure appreciate it. Oh my goodness, there I am. Lost Dutchman Days in the aspect on it, and I definitely want to say a thank you to everyone that was involved. I got nothing but major compliments on what we all did for traffic, as well as the whole event and how well it went. We also had Senator Rogers, who's our District 7 representative on the Senate of Arizona, and we had her down here to be in the parade, and then later on took her on a tour of Apache Junction. She had made mentions to me that she has been in Apache Junction hundreds of times. Then we started talking about the library and the multi-generation center, and she says, "Where is that?" So we wanted to make sure that she got a good tour of our community, and also some of the development that's ongoing, which is a bill that's before our legislators that I wanted to counter. And she was very receptive. She enjoyed the tour, the aspects on it, and has complimented repeatedly on it. We also had her sit down at the rodeo, and she had informed me prior to the beginning of it that she was going to have to leave roughly about 3 o'clock because she had another activity to be up in Scottsdale, so that she would have to leave. So we said, well, when you're ready to go, just let me know. It was going to be my job to get her back to her car over at the Chambers, and she ended up staying all the way to the very end, and she loved it. And she complimented how great it was. Her husband grew up on a dairy farm and said, brought back memories for him in the aspects of what was going on with the kids and everything. And he says he thoroughly enjoyed it. Today, we went to the state capitol for the, I'm going to say, all the county fairs, all 15 of them, had a, we'll say, lunch on the Capitol for our state legislators. And Senator Rogers also came out, and we walked with her and basically showed her she wanted to come to all the counties that she is involved in. Of course, she's in several pieces of counties as well. And she was wanting to go and see where the fairs were, what was ongoing. And it was something that she also said that, you know, and she repeated it. She says, I really enjoyed your Lost Dutchman days. It was fantastic. She says, I look forward to next year. So we're going to plan to bring her back again. And the final thing I'm bringing up is I received 3 letters from our young citizens of our community that are involved with the Country Kickers 4-H Club here in the Apache Junction area. And they want everyone to know that the Pinal County Fair is going to be happening this month on March 13th through the 17th. And they're inviting you to come out and take a look at their animals that they have. We have 3 young individuals, one that's actually raising a calf inside the city to be down there and to be auctioned off. And if anyone's interested in applying for and being a part of the auction, they are more than happy to have it. Unfortunately, if I bid on one and successfully, it's condemned for life on our property. It's not going anywhere. So again, want you to invite you to, down to Pinal County, which is the 11-mile corner, to the Pinal County Fair, and start seeing some of the FFA and 4-H kids involved with raising animals. Okay, that's all I have today, so move on. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Bryant Powell, City Manager. Before we jump into Lost Dutchman Days and Parade and Rodeo, I wanted to just remind everybody tomorrow we have at 8:30 a.m. the Lost Dutchman RV Resort neighborhood meeting, and it's one of the last ones we'll be having for this season. So just as a reminder for Mayor and Council on that one. We have a few photos here that just kind of brings us back. Very proud to have our city flag there going, and just to see the crowds. This could not be done. Matt, maybe the next one. We got some great shots, great photographers. Mr. McNulty.
Yeah.
The parade and the cultural event, the main event, I call it, of our season here. It's such a neat deal. Want to say that this cannot be done without not only the volunteers, but also your city staff. Your city staff takes great pride in presenting the city in such a way that we would all be proud. Huge shout out to Liz Legenbach and her team at Parks and Rec, who at a drop of a dime will go and fix potholes or whatever needs to be done, make sure the dust is down, make sure the rodeo arena is ready, making sure that we have as safe of a place to have some fun as possible. Same with PD, same with the fire district, same with our public works department, and all the preparation that takes place to do it properly planned. And I think this year we learned a lot in terms of we are a learning organization and learning on our parking as we grow as a city. And so we look forward to many, many more years out at the Lost Dutchman Days Parade and Rodeo. And then also I wanted to highlight this year we're going through every 5 to 7 year process where our FEMA flood maps are updated. The community had an open house this last week. Our city engineer there, Emil Schmid, it was communicating with residents about what those map changes are. But this will be about an 18-month process that has actually been going on for a couple years already. But the public now will be able to see and have access to these new maps. So wanted to thank everybody for coming out. Thanks to FEMA and all the groups that are helping us stay as safe as possible and stay out of those floodways. And that concludes my part. Other than just a reminder, coming up here, we have our former mayor's memorial service, Johnny Ansalaco. His wife, Susan, was in today and reminding us of the services that are coming at St. George's Catholic Church. There's a rosary at 9:30 and the services at 10 a.m. following the reception. That will be March 13th next week. And then she wanted us to know there's the VFW reception to follow. And with that, I'd like to also introduce Andy Smith of Pinal County to come on up to provide a presentation and discussion on Pinal County and the City of Apache Junction's Transportation Maintenance and Improvement Fund. And he will introduce staff member there. But this is a big, big deal. This is a 40-year process that he'll be explaining in his presentation. But every 20 years, the community, meaning the Pinal County community, its citizens, have a chance to renew this important fund. And so, Andy, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Bryant. Good evening. My name is Andy Smith, Pinal County. I have Tammy Ryle here, who is also going to help me present some of this fantastic information, as well as Ted Wolf will participate in the specific to Apache Junction. But what we're going to share with you today is kind of what this Transportation Maintenance and Improvement Program Fund is all about. As we go, do I just click? Yes. So, fund is really what it is let me back up. The Highway User Revenue Fund or the vehicle license tax. Why am I?
You stand right. Transportation is funded by a number of ways.
Thank you. And those ways are funded through vehicle license, our highway user, and our half-cent excise tax. And so when you look at the Highway User Revenue Fund and the VLT tax, those are generated through the gas tax and the purchase of automobiles, et cetera. And since 1991, the HERF tax has not gone up at all, and so that obviously is problematic. and that was back in the 90s, and so there still wasn't enough funding. So what we have done now is we encouraged, or the county encouraged doing a half-cent tax, sales tax, and in doing that, that was implemented in 2005. But I want to emphasize that there are cities that do have property tax that go towards transportation. Pinal County does not. So our property taxes are strictly for fire, parks, public health, no transportation whatsoever. Justice system, legals, and that kind of stuff. So there are, I think, is only 1 or 2 cities in the county that actually use property tax towards transportation. And then there might be some others, the cities that have bond initiatives, et cetera, but I don't know.
Mostly to pay back bonds for big construction projects. So the portion I want to talk about a little bit on the road maintenance fund is Andy highlighted. I think everyone's in general agreement that the HERF hasn't kept up with all of our needs. And back in the 80s, and can you advance the slide for me? Yep. Back in the 80s, people got together with the cities and the counties, and they went forward with an initiative to go have a half cent specifically to do road maintenance, to backfill the shortfall that was already happening even back then. So this tax that we're talking about, this tax that we're talking about today is actually been around. It was originally enacted in 1985 to go into effect in 86. It has been renewed in 05, and then it's up for expiration in 2026. So it's likely to be on the ballot this November of 24 for an extension. Part of the questions that we've gotten, and I'll kind of jump ahead a little bit, is, you know, we've had this election, that election, transportation seems to be complex. How is this different than what was on the ballot a year and a half ago? And the difference is that that was the PRTA tax. That was the tax to go forward for new construction of all the regional roadway new projects. This is an extension that we're talking about the tax that we've had for 40 years that all of the cities share in, that's going to be up for renewal, if that makes sense.
So this is basically all of the cities that are participating in the Transportation Improvement Maintenance Fund, and obviously we have this geared more as a general county-wide type of emphasis, with then going to the cities, and then we've identified staff from each city to kind of help facilitate us specifically what all you guys used your half-cent monies for, and we'll start to get some of those details here in a minute with Ted. But some of the funds that we've used for as far as Pinal County is concerned, and I'm sure you'll find some similarities with Apache Junction, is road repair and construction, road widening, traffic safety improvements, potholing, road preservation, new construction, intersection improvements, those kinds of things around the county. And we also have done a lot of projects where we'll work with each municipality on more of a regional project, if you will, that may be an unincorporated part, but as well transitions into a incorporated area, much like Ironwood.
so we thought it'd be good to kind of do a refresher on what the goals of this particular fund are. And the first one is that we feel really strongly that there's a linkage between public safety and the condition of our roads. We think that response times are directly impacted by having the roads be in a good condition, have adequate capacity so that there's not a ton of congestion to get emergency vehicles through. We also think that it's really important to keep up with the roads to manage growth. You know, we're a very fast-growing area throughout the different communities in the county, and we think that it's important that we have to keep up with the roads to be able to accommodate all the new residents that are moving here. We also believe, and this is something that I think you can relate to with your own personal life, that we think it kind of protects the taxpayers to go maintain the roads. Using the analogy of your car, your car, you know, nobody wants to learn the lesson of why you check your oil and you change your oil, because the outcome, if you don't maintain your vehicle, is that you have more costly repairs. And roads are really no different. If you don't keep up with them, they can reach a point of no return where you have to just go in and do a reconstruct if you haven't kept up with them. And then also, we also have used this fund, you know, similar to you, we're all part of the non-attainment area and been having to do a lot of dust abatement. And so we've been using it a lot for air quality too, to be able to kind of keep up with keeping the dust down in a lot of the residential areas.
Your Honor. Yes. I got a question for you guys.
Sure.
So, you know, in 2017, that one two-tier tax for the roads came through, and then it was deemed unconstitutional, and the money's stuck in limbo, and it's a mess. Now, I realize that's for the new construction road. That's a part of tax, if you want to call it that. Well, back 2 years ago, they tried to put it back on the ballot, and it failed. They tried to rewrite it so it wasn't a two-tier situation, and it failed. So it's abundantly clear in today's climate with the state and federal governments that anything that has the word tax on it is going to be shot down. So is there anything the county is planning to do to have some sort of educational campaign to say, hey, look, this isn't that, you know, this isn't new tax. This is something that's been around since the 80s. This is something we need desperately. This helps everybody.
I'm so glad you asked me that question, because we started working on this about the end of summer. And most of the preliminary work was, we felt that we hadn't, as a group, the cities and the county, done a good job in telling the story of what it is that we've done with the money for the last 40 years. So we've been collecting, and you'll see some slides on it from your staff, all of the highlight projects of what we've done with these funds. And we've been doing and building a database of all of this information. In addition to projects, we did a good write-up of the history that shows it's an extension, where it came from, how many times it's been renewed. We went and pulled numerical information from the treasurer's office going back. We have the full 20 years already in a spreadsheet, but we're now working on the 20 before that to get the full 40 so that we kind of know what's going on. In terms of the public outreach, so that was kind of the research phase. Starting in January through about the end of April, you're gonna just see us, we're here tonight. It's part of, we're carpet bombing. So we're doing every single city council meeting, doing a presentation, but we've also scheduled, I think it's somewhere between 14 and 16 open houses where we're going out in a more informal setting where people can walk up to the staff and ask questions, and people can feel like they get the presentation and get the information, but they got more interaction, and we'll have boards there, et cetera. And we actually have one planned in your community too. We have a slide on that to give you the information, but we're doing everything that we can to outreach. It'd be helpful if you guys also maybe, I know there's a group meeting of the communications folks from the county and all the cities to help kind of augment and get the information out for us as well. We've been doing it on ours. We even have been trying to recruit to get it into Fridays with Frank, because our most popular public outreach is one of our sergeants in the police department that has a YouTube channel that has about 400,000 followers. And so we've sent them out to some of the areas to kind of show what the road's done.
So you are targeting.
We're trying, yeah, we're trying, because, you know, we'll talk more about the financial. The next section is what are we talking about money-wise, and talk about what it means to us, what it means to you in general. But, you know, this is a tax that has been around for 40 years. It's a fund that we've all used to pretty much, you know, keep up with the growth in one of the fastest growing counties in the country. And this is one of the main reasons why we've been successful in keeping up where others haven't, is that we had the foresight in the 80s to go forward and do this to augment the HERF.
So will the new on the ballot, will it be higher or still just half cent?
It'll be just a half cent. It's just going to be the continuation. Yeah. Any discussion of anything else is completely separate. This is just a straightforward continuation
of the tax that was originally enacted in the 80s, to continue it for another 20 years.
Your Honor. Do you know, and maybe the mayor knows, is there any talk in the state right now about increasing the HERF fund tax?
They've been talking about increasing the HERF and rejecting it for as long as I've been around, and I've been around a long time, so I don't see that happening. What I have seen that's new, that might be kind of interesting, is that they are discussing now a more equitable method to recap the costs that electric vehicles may cause on the roads, so that, because they don't contribute to the HERF, of coming up with an alternative method for them to pay for their portion of the roadway.
Thank you.
So with that, I think, do you want to advance? Here, take it over there. I can't multitask. I thought you might be interested in some of the financial information. And I know there's way too much on this chart. What's significant on this chart is that so far this year, we've collected about $19 million in this fund, but it's not a full fiscal year yet. So last year might actually be a better reference point to give you a sense of the magnitude. So last year, we collected a total of $36 million. So what it works out to be is it's about $3.1 million a month. And if we go to the next slide, specific for Apache Junction, what that means for you is that in the full fiscal year, so last fiscal year, it was $3.6 million that the city of Apache Junction got from this fund. And we've received already, you've received already this partial fiscal year, 2.2. So for you, it works out to be about $326,000 a month that you receive from this fund.
Your Honor. Will this number start increasing now that we have expanded to the south and have another 4 square miles of Apache Junction?
You know, it's distributed based on population. So as your population goes up, your percentage goes up. Yeah. So it's based on all of the county and all of the cities receive a distribution based on their population.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. These are the impacts that this tax has had on our road maintenance system since its inception in 1986. As you can see, we've repaved 83 lane miles of roads, 75 lane miles of various pavement preservation methods, 9 miles of additional bike lanes, 4 lane miles of additional sidewalks, 2 signalized intersections, 4 street drainage improvements, and 9 traffic signal safety enhancements. Those are the tasks that we've been able to accomplish after having received this tax here at the city of Apache Junction.
Your Honor, I have a question. If you said it, I didn't hear. What period was that for?
This is since inception in 1986 to present.
Okay, so the whole 40 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's some before and after photos that Shane did a great job of taking. As you can see on the left side, before we repaved Lost Dutchman Boulevard, and then after. So you can see the contrast there. In 2022, we also worked on the medians and Apache Trail to beautify it, if you will, and also improve some drainage issues. On Idaho Road, near the high school, before and after in 2021. As I mentioned, also some drainage projects. This is the Delaware Ditch. north of Southern that we were able to change and modify to make it more hydraulically efficient and reduce some scour and erosion. Slurry seal on Broadway in 2018. Before and after photos. Also, I mentioned sidewalks. As you can see, this is Winchester and Southern Avenue in 2017. So let's talk about what would happen if we don't have this tax renewed. These are some of the targeted projects that are going to fall out of funding, and we won't be able to do some of these projects. Most of these projects are in the near term, here in the next 3 or 4 years, with the exception of Old West Highway. That's out about fiscal year 2032 because of the cost of the project, but we're already planning to do that work that far out. But these are some of the projects that would be in jeopardy if the tax was not renewed. Any questions for myself regarding while I'm here?
Don't see any.
Okay, I'll turn it back over to Andy. Thank you.
So some of this we've kind of highlighted, but not necessarily to, probably shouldn't use the acronym of beat a dead horse, but this is kind of the steps that we're taking. We've taken to date, and we're going to start moving forward with, as Tammy had pointed out a little bit earlier. But we're shooting for a November 5th, 2024 election, and so whatever the city's Apache Junction can do to help us facilitate this as a success. I can lobby for it right now, but as it gets out to the time for the voter pamphlet and all that other information, we have to step back and say, no, we just are going to provide facts. So yeah.
We're probably going to make the call either the end of April or beginning of May. So that's how imminent it is. And then our engagement as staff will be just to answer questions. At that point, it'll be whatever happens with the campaign will take over.
And as Tammy pointed out, the $36 million, as well Shane pointed out too, or Ted, excuse me. Pictures is worth 1,000 words, but this is basically what will happen, and the roads will deteriorate back to dirt, and then we're going to be out grading dirt roads, and then the subsequent fallout from that is the air quality problems, etc. We have a scheduled meeting here in Apache Junction on March 26th. It looks like at your multi-gen center. And so I believe staff will be there with us to help facilitate that. And if you guys would like, ladies and gentlemen, would like to come out, we'd love to have you. I'm sure the mayor will come. He seems to go to a lot of open houses.
It's our job.
Your Honor, I'll just add that these are just the beginning, and that starting tomorrow, Jorge Gutierrez from our social media group is going to push this and the link that the Pinal County's already started that's educational. And we're going to need to keep people informed. There just isn't, the vice mayor hit it right on the head. There's been 2 votes, and there could be really easy to cross wires on what this is and isn't. And I truly believe that if Shane could say something right now, I would just say that with the money that we have, it's just not, it's beyond essential. It's critical that this $2 million that we get a year, it helps us do what he can do, perform miracles, right, Shane, and stitching it together and keeping it. And he always reminds me, economic development equals great roads, and great roads equal economic development. And this is essential to our traveling public and our businesses and our residents to keep us going well. And so we will do our part. We need to keep social media out there. We could do open houses, but we don't get all of our residents here, obviously, to our council meetings.
Brian, we forgot to mention something, and I'm glad listening to your comments, you prompted it in my mind. We've actually, for part of the fact gathering to get all the information out there, we've commissioned an economic study about kind of what the economic impact has been of this tax over the years of the road maintenance fund, and then also prospectively what the impact would be if it were to fail. So we're expecting, I'm guessing that we'll have that information available by the end of this month to be able to start having a more kind of a fact-driven discussion that, you know, we believe our voters are intelligent, and that if you give them information and they understand things, that they see the implications. So we're trying to prepare as many facts as we can to make the information be available and be out there.
Thank you, Tammy, Andy. Any other questions? Otherwise, I just want to say huge thanks to Shane and Ted as well, and we'll keep getting that information out.
It's not really a question, but it's more like, I mean, back to the half cent when I asked if it was going to be raised. I mean, believe me, I'm not for taxes, but 40 years ago, the minds got together and said a half cent is sufficient for what we need to get done with the cost of material and everything. And here we are 40 years later. How challenging is it for this money to really spread the way it should with it where it's at? I mean, that should speak volumes how critical this is, that we know that if we try to keep up with inflation and be able to fix the roads, the ones we'd like to, because now there's a line, we can't risk raising it because you just can't risk it failing. So anything helps. So it is very crucial that this thing gets passed.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Yes.
one of the biggest complaints we get is about conditions of roads. And without this tax, you said it, the roads are going to deteriorate and we're going to be back to square one, and it's going to cost a fortune to keep up or even get them back to where they were. This is something, anybody listening out there in TV land, this is very important, and we need to get this passed. And as you saw, Apache Junction was 49% of the money went to Apache Junction, or 10, or 10, I'm sorry, 10%. That's, sorry, 49 would be better, but yes.
We'll take.
But the bottom line is we need this to keep up with our growth in our roads. So I hope everybody out there listening is really paying attention to this and comes to this meeting.
And we'll see you at that meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then for our last item on my report, under my report on the agenda, Matt, do you have a couple of photos we could
I do,
for
yeah.
announcement of current events?
Couple of current events, Mayor and Council. I'll pull it back up here. Get through all the slides. This Saturday, March 9th, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. is our Household Hazardous Waste Day. Location of Public Works right there off Baseline Road. Get there and get in line early. It's a great event, important for the area for all the disposal of that household hazardous waste. You can follow our social media, go to our website, apachejunctionaz.gov, to know what you can bring that day. And of course, ask questions there to Heather at the bottom. Her number's listed there.
Don't arrive at 12:05.
Don't arrive at 12:05. It's, yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Mayor's speaking from experience. We have a new event coming up, Pickleball with the Police. Great flyer here, but a kind of a neat thing to get the word out about. Bring your own equipment, but even show up even if you don't have the equipment. Come out and say hello, and they'll probably get you some to play. But this is, it benefits the Special Olympics of Arizona. And then finally, the Blues and Brews Festival is coming up. And this Saturday also, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Flatiron Community Park. And lastly, just a reminder, we have a weekly newsletter that includes all of this information. You can sign up for it by going to our website, apachejunctionaz.gov. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And we don't have any old business or new business. Presentation, discussion, update city park usage relating to city parks and open space within our city limits. Rob.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Rob Whistler, Management Analyst, City Manager's Office. I'm here tonight to provide an update on concerns about the situation in our parks and open spaces. Let's see here. All right. So I'm starting with a bit of a review of where we were last summer. So last summer, we were seeing due to a pretty dramatic increase in homeless individuals in particular Flatiron Park, a 134% increase in calls for service to AJPD, as well as a considerable heavy increase in complaints that we were seeing through social media and in many modes. So we responded in September of last year with new parking regulations that restricted overnight parking in Flatiron Park, and that also limited the amount of time that individuals could spend at the park to try to disincentivize day camping at the park. We also implemented a code of conduct policy to better regulate behavior at the park and to better outline sort of consequences for behaviors not allowed. The city also brought on board 2 new officer positions and 1 new park ranger position dedicated to homelessness issues. And in addition to that, we've been coordinating with neighboring private property owners to clean up their vegetation adjacent to the wash at Flatiron Park and in the Golden Triangle. So where are we today? Today we've seen in terms of the 3 months before the park closure, beginning in October, to when, and then the 3 months after the park reopened on Veterans Day weekend, we've seen a 59% decrease in calls for service for AJPD at the park and in downtown area. And then the complaints we do monitor those has decreased pretty significantly as well. And overall, it seems as though the impact of homeless individuals has also decreased significantly in the downtown area. So I also want to provide, and so moving on to the second part of this, is an update on our open space area. So back in August, a working group was put together to address encampments in open space areas. And that is both undeveloped parcels in the downtown area as well as in the desert areas to our north and to our east. And so the focus of this group was to join the enforcement of the rules of the land rules, so private property as well as BLM and state trust land rules, along with the cleanup of the site. The initial focus of this was in the downtown area, but we've been able to sort of start to shift our focus up north and into the BLM and state trust land areas. The East Valley Backcountry Horsemen is assisting with cleanups in this open space area. I'm going to come back to them in a second. I want to give an example here for everyone as to what before and after in terms of what we're looking at, in terms of the amount of just honestly trash that is left behind and needs to be picked up. Here's another one. So, all right. So in total, 56 sites have been cleaned by city staff, though some of these sites have actually had multiple passes because they do tend to get re-inhabited, not necessarily by even the same individual. And additional work has been done by the East Valley Backcountry Horsemen, reporting camps and cleaning what they can. And Parks and Rec estimates that their volunteer work has been worth more than $10,000. So I want to show a map here. The green dots are all of the sites that we have cleaned. The yellow sites are inactive. They have no one at them, but have not yet been cleaned. And the red dots and polygons are sites that, and this was as of last week, so this is not quite current, that were active, but were being addressed. All right. I'm available for questions.
Any questions? Any questions?
This was meant to give an update. It's been a while, some of the work. We just want to keep you posted on the staff's efforts.
I do have a question. On the trash, I don't know if you know the answer to this. How much of this is like disposable food products, like styrofoam containers and cups and straws that people hand out to homeless and they just end up dumping it out in the desert?
It would be anecdotal, but that sort of stuff is discussed when we in the working group meetings. That it's present for sure. I can follow up and try to get an estimate.
No, it's just
It'd be difficult
something
to come
that I, kind of a pet peeve of mine, that we hand out all this stuff and they take it out into the desert and just dump it. It just kind of irritates me that we have all this trash in our city and in our deserts. So, you don't have to get an
Your
answer
Honor.
for me.
Yes.
Robert, do we have any policy in place, or do we offer trash bags and say, hey, you guys pack it up, bring it out to the fence, and we'll try and get somebody to pick it up?
So usually how it works is that when we go enforce, so state trust land or Bureau of Land Management land rules, which each of us have different amounts of time that one can be on their land. Usually when we go enforce them and say, hey, look, this is the rules here, you know, you per their law, which we're able to enforce, you do have to get moving. Our officers encourage them to try to pick up what they can.
Are we citing them for littering?
Um,
Because I've been on a few of these cleanups, and it's absolutely disgusting what's left behind and what we're forced to deal with. And it seems like there's no incentive for them, you know, not to do it again, per se.
Chief, why don't you come up and
Yeah.
discuss about what type of citations, what the interaction's like and what the results are?
You bet. So for as far as littering, I like all of you, good evening, Mayor and members of council. It's frustrating, but in order for us to cite somebody, we have to see them throw the litter down. Just because they're living surrounded by trash doesn't mean that we can cite them, unfortunately. It just means that somebody threw this litter down. There is educational things that we're doing. We work very closely with Horizon Health and Wellness. Some statistics that they provided us is they have a team, a homeless outreach team that goes out almost daily all over Pinal County, but the majority of their time is spent here in Apache Junction. Since July, they've contacted at least 62 people suffering from homelessness. 37 of those 62 people have been housed and placed by Horizon. Our police officers are working very closely with them to get education. I know Horizon, if they were here, you would hear some amazing things that they're doing. Our officers work jointly with them on getting education. We come in when enforcement is needed. When we find a campsite that we ask these people to leave, we give them a certain amount of time for them to pack up their stuff. Once that time comes, we go back and we bring a cleanup and we clean up the whatever was left there. And again, is it them that littered? More than likely, but in order for us to cite them, we have to show that they were the ones that did it, if that makes sense.
Unfortunately, yes.
And we do have Liz here who does some park ranger enforcement. Liz, do you want to?
And
mention, because I
Liz
think we
did mention
yeah.
just through a text message
Yeah.
that we do actually hand out garbage
Yeah.
bags to folks as well when we encourage them to clean up themselves, but it doesn't mean they always do that.
I think one of the biggest things we can do is, if we're going to feed the homeless, keep them on site. Don't let them walk off with styrofoam containers and all kinds of other stuff that ends up out in our desert. Have them come to an area and feed them, and they can't leave with all the other stuff in their hands to take out and throw in the desert. You know, I know people want to feed the homeless, and I get that, but we need to have them come to a certain location to get that, stay there, and leave their trash there in the garbage cans so it don't end up out on our streets or our deserts. Something we might want to look at really pushing.
So I was looking at the graph, shows that how it went down significantly from like Flatiron Park.
Correct.
So what practices is the police department doing to remove these individuals? Or, I mean, we don't officially have a move along policy in the city.
Correct.
So, which I wouldn't mind seeing one. But so, I mean, is you just, how are you having them go?
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of this is we have the code of conduct that is at all of our parks. All the rules are listed. Our park rangers do a phenomenal job. They're there daily. When they are not there, our officers are asked to go by, even late at night. We have parking restrictions along Phelps as well as Plaza, where at night when the lights are out and there's restricted parking, we're going by making sure that that people aren't camping out there, that we're going and we're addressing people that are staying in the parks at night. But I'll tell you, one of the best partnerships we've had is, again, with Horizon. They go, they offer these services, and they've really been able to see some huge success. Their biggest area that they go to almost daily, or at least a couple times a week, is Flatiron Park and Genesis. And those that are looking for services know that these crisis workers are there, give them the services. Those that don't, they leave the area. And we've noticed a huge difference where they're not hanging out and loitering in the parks. So it's a combined effort, I guess.
Okay.
It's not just the PD, I can tell you that.
No one else have a comment? I will make one quick one in the aspect that I've been involved with several of the, we'll say, cleanup opportunities. Notice I said opportunities that we've encountered. And these two pictures that were shown, it's very minor because there's a lot of them out there that were just massive. And I know one that we were involved with, we filled up 2 trash containers that were portable trash containers that we filled up and still had more trash yet to put in. And it is something that's we're working on, and it's something that we appreciate everyone that's involved into it, to trying to keep it in our community down to as minimal as possible. And I want to say a special thank you to all those that are being involved, the police and the parks, in the aspect on it, because it's something that the community wants to keep going and keep using, and it is something that is well, I'll say, appreciated.
That's an impressive number. You've got 36 people off the street.
Yeah.
Everyone we get off the street, that gets them getting back on track to have a normal life and get back to being able to support themselves. And that's a big plus, and that's a big number for as many people as you're getting with. So that's very impressive, Chief.
Thank you very much. And just lastly, in closing, I'll tell you, we work with the businesses in the downtown area. They've noticed a huge difference. Our complaints have gone down significantly by calls for service, as well as just business owners that we've maintained contact with. So thank you again for tonight.
Okay. Presentation and discussion of Resolution 23-37, Federally Patent Easement Extinguishment on 7th Avenue and Conestoga Road to Cortez. Mr. Wolf.
Good evening. Ted Wolf, Public Works Director. I'm going to have Raquel Schatz come in. She is the resident expert on FPEs.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Raquel Schatz, Public Works Department, to discuss an extinguishment for Resolution 2037. This extinguishment is for 7th Avenue alignment. It's an alignment because it's not a physical roadway that the city maintains, which means there's no pavement, there's no chip seal, it's not even bladed as a dirt road. So it's 7th Avenue from Conestoga Road to Cortez Road. These federal patent easements were granted to the city back in the 30s, and then also in the 50s, as a way as reservation for right-of-way along the boundaries of the land to ensure that there could be possibly city growth. So in many cases, there will be 2.5 acres or even 5 acre of these easements. So the city's process is we've got an application, and within this application, there's a checklist of what that needs to be provided to submit this application. So we've got a support petition that needs to be signed by all the residences within 300 feet of the proposed area. We've also asked that a Proposition 207 forms that are signed by only those who are adjacent to the affected area, and the fee. And this is a non-refundable fee. In doing so, once we collect the application, once everything is completed, we then contact the emergency respondents. We also call contact public utility providers, and we also have communication within our own staff, such as PD, fire, and then even our development services department. So as mentioned, this is Conestoga Road. And my apologies, my highlight didn't show up on this here. But again, this is an alignment that's not maintained by the city. It is actually one of the red highlighted areas there. It's a light green with the red highlighted area there. Let's see here.
Conestoga?
No, it's the
other side.
It's the one, that one right there.
Right there,
Yeah, it's
on your form here, we got.
yeah, it's that one right there. So you can see there to the immediate west, that portion has already been extinguished. What's highlighted red is the previous 2 directors, Public Works Director and the Development Services Director. They previously reviewed this area, and this is one of those easements that they recommend be extinguished. The purpose for this extinguishment is that the owner wishes to obtain a building permit in which the owner has already began extinguishing those utility easements as well too. The extinguishments of the utility easements is not a public works process. It is a development services process so that they can obtain certain building permits. I will be bringing this back to council on consent agenda for on March 19th. Any questions?
Any questions? Nope. You going to do the next one?
Yes.
Okay, presentation, discussion, resolution 24-05, a federal patent easement extinguishment of Roundup Street for future development.
All right. Okay, so this is resolution 2405. It's for Roundup Street alignment again. And this one is a unique case in which the actual alignment is inside of a already developed subdivision, development, whatever you like to call it. This Roundup Street is inside Apache Junction Townhome Development. I can explain again the background of how these extinguishments were created. I'll save you guys the time unless you guys want me to explain that again. I can do that. Process, they submitted an application, had the support petition in this case. They own the adjacent 3 parcels. So they were the only ones that were required to sign the support petition as well as the Proposition 207 forms. All right, so I mentioned that this one is inside of of a fully developed subdivision or development. This is, I mean, if you look at the picture on the right, you can see how it's non-developed. And it actually shows like a little bit of a cul-de-sac on the south side of the road there. So the purpose for this is because the owner wants to develop those 3 parcels, but currently right now they don't have a means of getting to those other 2 parcels to the west. So by extinguishing portions of this 66 feet there, they will maintain a 50-foot right-of-way, which matches all the interior streets of the Apache Junction Townhome Development. So typically the federal patent easements are 66 feet. However, in order to match everything else that's been in the Apache Junction Development townhomes, the Public Works only required them to maintain the 50 feet. So there are 16 of that feet is what's being extinguished, not the full 66 feet. And this was an effort, like I said, to match all the other interior streets inside of the development. Again, this will be brought to council on consent agenda on March 19th. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, no, guess not. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm moving right on. Going straight to the call to the public. I'd like to remind everyone the call to public is a courtesy and not required by law. It is a time for the public to express requests, communications, comments, and suggestions. Request to speak forms must have been completed and handed out to the city clerk before the end of the city manager's report. All issues shall be presented in a professional manner without personal attacks. Under the open meeting law, the council cannot engage in discussion on issues presented, but may respond to criticism, may direct staff to follow up with the speaker directly, or place this matter on future agenda for the council discussion. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. And I'll uncover them here. We have a few here. So first one, Dan Tone.
City Council, Mayor Wilson. I'm here about the speeding going on South Cedar Drive. I've lived there since 2001.
Your address.
1099. I'm street side there. There's a lot of easements going into the east and the west, so there's a lot of people with an address there that they're not necessarily street side. But it seems since they did the development on 16th, there's a lot more traffic. There's always been speeding there, but that development was, a lot of it was ongoing starting in the early 2000s. And I do remember they were supposed to do a through easement into, or through road on 16th into Meridian to relieve it. But all the traffic in that area goes up Cedar. And I can sit there with my cell phone, and any time of day, you don't have to sit there more than 15 minutes, and you'll get someone going 50, 60 miles an hour. And during the rush hour times, it's even worse. And the speed limit's only 25 there. This has been an ongoing thing since I lived there. And I don't know what to do. I'm not a traffic expert. I mean, maybe you guys are. But I think the solution would be start writing tickets there, because I don't think anybody writes tickets. They give warnings, or they put a big sign up that gives the speed of the people driving, and then it's gone in a week. So I don't know what the solution is. Maybe a stop sign midway, or speed bumps or something, or complete the road going into 16th going into Meridian. That would be something you could put on your things to do. I don't know. Just a request. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre Meek.
evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Andre Meek, 1327 South Bel Air, here in AJ. So, some hard-hitting topics tonight. The homeless, the garbage. Glad to hear that Horizon was successful in, getting some people off the street. Let's keep them at it. Let's help where we can. Now, as far as the garbage and, you get some of these guys in there and they're got the garbage all around them, but then you see some sites that it looks like they moved a frickin' junkyard in there. But, that takes time to do. The problem is that they're there for, if it's BLM land, it's supposed to be there 14 days. If it's state trust, they got no business there. But yet this huge garbage pile develops because you call BLM, they won't do nothing. State don't do nothing until it becomes, a thing to where you better do something because it's just getting out of hand. So, we need to be really proactive on all that to keep it from turning into a pigsty out there. And, there's one citizen that I see a lot of his postings on the AJ page, Eric Gall, and he does a lot of, cleanup out there, organizing people and all that. Now, I don't know if when they're hauling all that stuff, who's paying the dump fees and everything like that, but they're hauling truckloads out there, But incentive should be, if you're hauling stuff out like that, and you're in an organized thing, you should be taking it to the dump for free. I mean, if you're contributing your fuel and all that, you should be able to get that truckload of stuff into the dump without paying for it. And then, garbage bags. Good idea, Mr. Cross, about, handing out garbage bags. You get a certain color so you know what you're dealing with. And, those are reserved for doing work out there, and then people can go out there. You kind of like adopt a street, adopt a chunk of desert and get programs like that. But, I think it could be done. But big thing is we got to stay on top of it, not just, oh, hey, it looks good today, and then 3 months later, whoa, because nobody's enforced it. So, but, getting the state on board with it, getting the feds on board with it, that's the big thing right there because they're not doing their job. Thank you.
Donna Carr.
Donna Carr, Apache Junction resident. I've been out doing a lot of door knocking lately, doing a couple of petitions. And one of the things that I noticed is people seem to be pretty open and about what's going on in the area. And so far, in just a small section, I've come across people complaining about 3 different crack houses and a chop shop in just one small section. So, I mean, to me, the crime is getting a little out of control. Now, some of the people in the neighborhoods talk about, oh, well, there was a guy, he come flying, running up my driveway into my backyard, ran into the fence. The cops were right behind him and arrested him. But the thing is that something needs to be done. There's just too much crime. And I guess one of the other things is, and I've said this before, is about looking before you leap. And I went to the last zoning meeting, and was it Phoenix Metro Towing? They're moving over to Tomahawk. And if we actually do something to prevent something ahead of time, such as the towing will bring in not just cars that the cops called and said, hey, come and get this guy's car, he's under arrest, but accidents. And accident cars, they leak oil, they leak transmission fluid, you name it, they leak it. And for them to line the ground prior to putting their concrete down. And I did bring it up, one zoning guy that was there, he said that that sounded like actually a pretty good idea. Now, if we can stop the chemicals from going into the ground, maybe our well water wouldn't be as bad, but we need to start somewhere. And so when you're building new stuff, is just keep an eye on what's happening. I mean, you look at the governor right now. I mean, you got places, businesses that are moving into Phoenix that consume all our water. And I mean, granted, chip factory, it could have been built somewhere that has more water than the desert. I mean, there's a lot of these places that, I mean, you look at Globe, I guess Globe is doing a lot of complaining now about the water. But if we look and make a decision, like right away, you know, the thing is check out your facts first, then make the decision. That's all I'm saying. Thanks.
Catherine Meek. Split you up.
Catherine Meek, 1327 South Bel Air Road. Can't remember my address. Good evening, Mayor, Council. I am just in love with all the wonderful activities and things we do here in the city. I really enjoyed, I managed to be at the Superstition Mountain Museum just in time for the handoff for the Pony Express, and we had a big crowd out there cheering it along. It's a fun thing to do. It's fun to see the Pony Express. They came out for a school tour. It was wonderful because the kids, okay, the adults really enjoyed it. The kids maybe noticed it. This weekend during, well, the Blues and Brews Festival is happening on Saturday, but from Friday through Sunday, we have Mata Ortiz and Oaxacan artists at the museum. These are world-renowned artists. There are wood carvers, painters, potters. There's a lady silversmith that does beautiful filigree work. There is Porfirio, who is a weaver, and he actually taught classes at the Smithsonian. These artists are going to be creating their artwork. They will be talking to anybody who wants to talk to them. Then they will have arts for sale. And 9 to 4, Friday through Sunday. Feel free to come out and visit us. Also, Friday night we have a dinner fundraiser, and it's going to be a lady group of mariachis. I'm not going to say their name because my pronunciation's awful, but we're going to have Mexican food, and the ladies will be performing. Tickets are $30 a piece or $50 for a couple. Dinner starts at 4:30. Buy your tickets online or come to the door early. Thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see some of you there.
Thank you. The council have any requests for follow-up?
You're up.
Yes?
Chief, can you beef up some police? Thanks.
It's already texted, he's already on it.
That's all I wanted to.
Okay.
Check on Cedar.
All right, thank you. I adjourn.